It started with a glance. A glance that lasted too long, too heavy to be innocent. A look that lingered between the lines of decency and danger, when I should have ignored the second it burned across the room and landed straight on me. But I didn't. I couldn't. When I moved into the apartment with Ivy, I was just grateful to escape the suffocating dorms. Ivy was cool, a little chaotic, always late for everything, but sweet. She had a twin bed across from mine, and a constant flow of energy that filled the room like a storm. What I didn't expect was her older sister, Celine. Celine was 2 years older, in her last year of law school, and impossibly composed. She only visited on weekends, said she needed a break from her high-rise apartment downtown, something about real people energy, whatever that meant. But when she stepped into our tiny shared apartment, she made it feel like the air had changed. She was everything Ivy wasn't: tall, quiet, poised, mysterious. Always dressed in dark colors, always with perfect eyeliner and this slow, deliberate way of speaking that made you feel like you were being studied. Like she could read every thought in your head and knew exactly which one you didn't want her to find. The first weekend she stayed over, she barely looked at me. Just polite hellos, vague smiles, nothing more. The second weekend, she asked me what I was reading. The third, she sat next to me on the couch instead of on the armchair. And by the fourth, I was losing sleep. Not because of her, but because of what she made me feel. It didn't help that Ivy went home that weekend, some family event I wasn't invited to. I thought Celine would go too, but she didn't. She showed up that Friday night with her usual quiet confidence, a single duffel bag, and a bottle of red wine tucked under her arm. "You drink?" she asked, already in the kitchen. "Sometimes," I said, pretending not to notice the way her eyes slid down to the waistband of my shorts. We drank on the couch. One glass turned into two, then three. We talked. About school. About how exhausting people can be. About books and movies, and how neither of us believed in love at first sight, but maybe something close to it. The wine loosened something in me, and I started to forget that she was Ivy's sister. I started to forget all the reasons I shouldn't be staring at her lips when she talked. I started to notice how her hand rested on the cushion, just inches from my thigh. By midnight, I went to my room, cheeks warm, pulse louder than it should be. I changed into an old tank top and climbed into bed, trying to sleep. But every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was her mouth, her voice, her gaze that flickered with something just a little too intense. I wasn't expecting the knock. It was soft, almost like a whisper against the wood. I opened the door, and there she was. Celine. In an oversized t-shirt, barefoot, her long dark hair cascading over one shoulder, and eyes that held no apology. "Can I come in?" I hesitated. My heart was racing. I nodded. She walked in slowly, like she knew exactly how much space she was taking up in my room. She stood near the bed, looking down at me with that same unreadable expression. Then she leaned against the wall, arms crossed, gaze locked onto mine. "I couldn't sleep," she said. I swallowed. "Me neither." A pause. A silence that wasn't awkward but charged. "I think you're cute," she said suddenly, as if she were commenting on the weather. My stomach flipped. "What?" "I think you're cute. I think you've known I've been watching you. And I think you've been watching me too." I opened my mouth, closed it. My thoughts were a mess of heat and panic, and something far more dangerous. Want. "Ivy's not here," she said softly, pushing off the wall, taking a slow step toward me. "You don't have to pretend." "Pretend what?" "That you don't want me to kiss you." My breath caught. Celine, but she was already closer, her fingers brushing my wrist, eyes locked on mine with a hunger I hadn't seen before. "Tell me no," she whispered. "Tell me to leave." I couldn't. My voice wouldn't come. My skin was burning everywhere she touched. And then her lips were on mine. Soft at first. Testing. Like she was waiting for me to pull away. When I didn't, she deepened it. Slow, devastating, like she had all the time in the world to unravel me. Her hand slid to my waist, warm and sure, and I felt myself fall, completely, helplessly. The kiss turned urgent. My back hit the mattress.
Her body followed.
I gasped into her mouth, my fingers curling into her shirt. She kissed me until my doubts melted, until all I could feel was her weight above me, her lips tracing a fire down my neck, her voice a low hum against my skin. She pulled back, just enough to look down at me. "There you are," she whispered, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "I knew you'd stop pretending." I was breathless.
Dizzy.
My whole body trembling in ways I'd never felt before. "I should go," she murmured, not moving an inch. "You won't," I said, surprising both of us. She smiled.
Dark.
Knowing. Dangerous. And just like that, she leaned down and kissed me again, longer, deeper, until I gave up trying to pretend I didn't want this. Didn't want her. I woke up tangled in sheets that still smelled like her. My lips were sore, my skin buzzing, and the silence in the apartment felt way too loud. The sun was already high, warm stripes of light cutting across the floor, and for a moment I could almost pretend none of it happened, except it did. Every second of it. Her weight above me, her mouth against mine, her hand sliding beneath my shirt before she pulled back with a wicked smirk and whispered, "Sleep well, baby," like it was something she'd say again. I sat up, heart thudding, nerves on fire.
What now?
Did we pretend nothing happened? Did she regret it? Or worse, did I?
No. God, no.
The problem wasn't regret. It was the opposite. I wanted more. I wanted her again. I wanted to feel her breath at my ear, her hands on my waist, her voice low and taunting. I threw on a hoodie and shorts, then stepped out into the living room. She was already there, of course.
Celine.
Sitting on the couch, legs crossed, hair up in a lazy bun, sipping black coffee like she hadn't just turned my world upside down hours earlier. She looked up. Her eyes met mine.
Calm.
Sharp.
Smirking.
"Morning," she said like nothing happened. My pulse skipped. "Morning." I made my way to the kitchen, pretending my hands weren't trembling as I poured myself some coffee, trying to avoid looking at her mouth. It didn't work. I could still taste it. "Sleep okay?" she asked, her voice casual, but her gaze told a different story.
Heated.
Curious. Watching me. "Fine," I lied. "You?" She took another slow sip, her eyes dragging down my bare legs. "Am very well." A pause. "Your bed's comfortable." My breath caught, and I fumbled with the mug, burning my fingers. She chuckled. "Quiet, dark, intimate. Careful." "You can't just say things like that," I muttered, turning away, cheeks burning. "Why not?" She rose, smooth and slow, and suddenly she was behind me. "You didn't seem to mind last night." Her fingers brushed my hip, so light I could have imagined it. I didn't. I turned to face her, my back against the counter, trapped. "That was a mistake," I said, voice soft, shaky. "You sure?" Her face was close. Too close. Because it didn't feel like one. I hated how right she was. How her presence short-circuited everything in me. "Ivy's going to be back this afternoon," I whispered, heart racing. "And she's your sister." "Half-sister," she corrected. "And she's not blind. She's noticed the way you look at me." "I don't." "You do," she interrupted, leaning even closer, until her breath kissed my neck. "You watch me when I move. You bite your lip when I talk. You flush when I sit too close. You want me, baby. And last night? That wasn't a mistake. That was you finally admitting it." My fingers gripped the counter. "Celine, say you didn't like it," she murmured, her mouth a hair's breadth from mine. "Say it, and I'll back off." I stared into her eyes, dark, fierce, beautiful, and I couldn't say it. Wouldn't. Because it wasn't true. She saw it in my silence. Her smile turned triumphant. She leaned in like she was going to kiss me again, then stopped, lips hovering just above mine. "Didn't think so." And just like that, she stepped back, grabbing her coffee, walking away like she hadn't just set me on fire all over again. I stood there shaking. What the hell was I supposed to do now? All day, I tried to avoid her. I stayed in my room, reading the same page over and over, unable to focus. When Ivy got home, I felt a strange guilt crawling under my skin, like I'd betrayed something, though I wasn't sure what. Ivy didn't notice anything. She was her usual whirlwind self, laughing about some ridiculous drama at home, telling stories with big gestures and popcorn flying everywhere. Celine sat beside her, calm and cool, occasionally glancing at me when Ivy wasn't looking. And every time she did, I felt it like a pulse beneath my skin. That night, I couldn't sleep. Again. My mind replayed everything. Her lips, her words, her heat. I lay there in the dark, restless, too aware of every creak in the hallway, every soft sound. At one point, I thought I heard her footsteps, pausing outside my door. My breath stopped, but no knock came. I stayed awake for hours, aching, frustrated, and furious with myself for wanting something so wrong. The next morning she was gone, left before sunrise. Ivy said Celine had early meetings downtown and wouldn't be back next weekend. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt like something vital had been ripped away. The following week was torture. I couldn't stop thinking about her, about what she'd said, what we'd done. I jumped every time my phone buzzed, half hoping it would be her. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you. It never was. Until Friday. A single message, 11:42 p.m. unknown number. Still thinking about my mouth on yours? I stare at the screen, my whole body igniting with heat. I didn't reply. I didn't have to. 10 minutes later, there was a soft knock at my door. Just like before. And I already knew it was her. The knock was soft, so soft it could have been a trick of my imagination. But I knew better. I was already halfway to the door before I even realized I was moving, heart pounding in my throat, palms damp. I didn't ask who it was. I didn't need to. I opened the door slowly, and there she was.
Celine.
Dressed in black from head to toe, her coat draped over one arm, hair wind-tousled, eyes gleaming like she knew every thought I'd had since she left. And she wasn't wrong. I couldn't speak, could barely breathe. She stepped inside without a word, closing the door behind her. The soft click of the lock made something deep in me tremble. "You didn't answer my text," she whispered, voice low and velvety. I stared at her, pulse racing. I didn't know what to say. Her eyes flicked down to my bare legs, then slowly back up. "You didn't have to say anything. I already knew." I swallowed hard. "Ivy's asleep." "Then be quiet," she murmured, stepping closer. "Unless you want her to hear what I do to you." My breath hitched. Celine. She was already there, crowding me against the wall, her hands on either side of my face, her mouth crashing into mine before I could finish her name. The kiss was nothing like the first. This one was all hunger, all frustration, all the fire we'd been pretending not to feel for days. Her tongue slid into my mouth with the kind of confidence that made my knees buckle. I whimpered, clutching her coat as she pressed me harder against the wall, her thigh slipping between mine, her hand sliding up under my hoodie. "I missed this," she growled softly, lips moving down my neck. "Missed you." "You shouldn't be here," I whispered, eyes fluttering shut. "Then tell me to stop." I couldn't. She kissed me again, deeper this time, and I felt myself unraveling beneath her. She pulled me toward the bed, her grip firm but gentle, eyes never leaving mine. "Take this off," she whispered, tugging at my hoodie. I hesitated, heart racing. "Celine, shoo," she said, brushing her thumb over my lower lip. "Don't overthink it. Just feel." I obeyed, slipped it off slowly, heat crawling up my neck as her gaze roamed my skin like it was something sacred. Her coat dropped to the floor. Then her hands were on me, everywhere, stroking my waist, tracing the line of my spine, finding every sensitive spot with practiced ease. "You're shaking," she murmured against my collarbone. "I don't know what this is," I breathed. "This thing between us. It's real," she said. "And it's dangerous." But you want it anyway. She wasn't wrong. Her mouth claimed mine again, and I gave in. We fell onto the bed in a tangle of limbs and breathless gasps, her body pressed to mine, her fingers exploring me with a kind of reverence that made me ache. She was warm and soft and everywhere all at once. Every kiss felt like a promise she wasn't allowed to make. Every touch burned through the walls I'd tried to build. She pulled back just enough to look into my eyes. You okay? I nodded, dazed. I want you. Her lips parted slightly, and something dark flickered behind her gaze. Then I'll take care of you. She kissed me again, slower now, more deliberate. Her hands moved with purpose, with patience, with something dangerously close to affection. And when she touched me, really touched me, I bit down on a moan and buried my face in her shoulder, desperate to stay silent. Sure, she whispered, kissing my ear. Quiet, baby. We don't want Ivy coming in, do we? The thrill of being caught, of almost being heard, made everything sharper. My body was on fire, every nerve alive, every breath a fight not to cry out her name. She moved with expert control, knowing exactly what I needed before I even did. It was maddening, addictive. I'd never felt like this before, with anyone. Not this kind of surrender, not this kind of craving. When I finally collapsed against her, trembling and breathless, she held me like I was something precious. Like she hadn't just destroyed me in the best possible way. We lay there for a long time, tangled in each other, silent except for the sound of our breathing. I didn't want to speak. I didn't want the moment to end. But eventually, she leaned up on one elbow, brushing hair from my face. You're going to pretend nothing happened in the morning, aren't you? I blinked at her. I don't know. You always overthink things, she said, smiling softly. I like that about you. But this? She traced a finger down my jaw. This is happening, whether you admit it or not. Celine, sure, she said again. Just let it happen. She kissed me one last time, slow and deep, like she was sealing a secret between us. Then she got up, grabbed her coat, and disappeared into the dark. The door clicked shut behind her. I stared at the ceiling, dazed and aching and completely undone. I didn't sleep for hours. I couldn't. My body still felt her. My lips still tasted her. My heart still raced like she was right there whispering in my ear.
And in the morning?
I woke up to Ivy sitting on the edge of my bed, holding out a cup of coffee with a bright smile. You okay? You look kinda wrecked. I froze. Just bad dreams. She laughed.
Damn.
Looked like they lasted all night. I took the coffee with trembling hands, barely holding her gaze. Because if she knew what really happened last night, she wouldn't be smiling. I couldn't stop looking at her. Every time I tried to focus on something, my coffee, my phone, even Ivy's endless monologue about her statistics class, my eyes would drift back to Celine. She was sitting across the table, long legs crossed, wearing a soft gray sweater that hung slightly off one shoulder, revealing the smooth line of her collarbone. Her fingers lazily traced the rim of her coffee mug while she listened to Ivy, occasionally nodding, occasionally stealing glances at me when Ivy wasn't paying attention. Those glances were killing me. They were quiet, calculated, filled with meaning only I could understand. Like she was daring me to say something. Like she was remembering exactly what her hands did to me last night. And I was losing my mind trying to act normal. Earth to you, Ivy said, snapping her fingers in front of my face. I blinked, startled.
What?
You totally zoned out, she laughed. Did you sleep at all? Celine smirked behind her mug, eyes gleaming with wicked amusement. She might have had a long night, she murmured. I stiffened. Ivy didn't catch the double meaning. She just rolled her eyes and shoved another spoonful of cereal in her mouth. Weirdo. Celine's foot brushed mine under the table. Barely a touch, but it was deliberate, intimate. My skin burned. I pushed my chair back. I'm gonna shower, I muttered, needing to breathe, needing space, needing anything that wasn't her teasing fingers or her scorching gaze. I locked the bathroom door behind me, leaned against the sink, and stared at myself in the mirror. My lips were still swollen, my neck still flushed. I could almost feel her hands on my waist, her breath against my skin. I turned on the water, stepped into the shower, hoping the heat would erase her from my thoughts. It didn't. I came out wrapped in a towel, hair dripping, heart still pounding. The apartment was quiet. Ivy had gone to class. But Celine was still here. I stepped out into the hall, and there she was, leaning against my bedroom door like she'd been waiting all morning. "Hey," she said softly. "Can we talk?" "Talk," I repeated, pulse already quickening. "Celine, last night, was real," she cut in. "And don't pretend it wasn't." "I'm not," I breathed. "But Ivy isn't here." She reached out, fingers brushing my arm. "And you're standing there dripping wet in nothing but a towel. So unless you want me to lose every ounce of control I'm clinging to, maybe we should talk inside." I hesitated for half a second, then opened the door and stepped aside. She walked in slowly, like she belonged there, like she'd been in my space 100 times. She sat on the edge of my bed, legs spread slightly, elbows resting on her thighs as she looked up at me. "I shouldn't want this," I whispered. "But I do. God, I do." "Then why are you fighting it?" "Because it's complicated," I said. "Because it's wrong." "You keep saying that," she murmured, rising to her feet, closing the space between us with slow, deliberate steps. "But last night, you weren't saying no. You were moaning my name into my neck and begging me not to stop." I flushed deep, the memory crashing over me like a wave. "You're not playing fair." "I never said I would," she said, eyes locked on mine. "You think I'm not scared, too? You think I don't lie awake wondering how bad this could go? But then I remember your lips on mine, the way your body trembled under my hands, and I can't care. Not when it feels like this." My towel slipped slightly. She noticed. Her eyes darkened. She stepped even closer, now just inches away. "You drive me insane," she whispered. "Do you even know what you do to me?" "Celine, no more pretending," she said, lifting her hand to cup my face. "Not when I'm this close to ruining us all over again."
I didn't stop her when she kissed me.
I didn't even hesitate. My towel fell to the floor, and her arms wrapped around me like she was claiming me all over again. The kiss was hot and desperate, like we'd both spent the entire day starving. Her hands roamed my body with greedy precision, and I let her, because there was no room left for guilt or fear or doubt. There was only us, only heat and breath and mouths meeting in secret. We tumbled back onto the bed, and I straddled her this time, taking control, watching her eyes darken with surprise and hunger. "You're playing with fire," she whispered, fingers digging into my thighs. "Then burn with me," I whispered back. And she did. We moved together like we knew every inch of each other already. Her hands on my hips, her lips on my chest, her voice low and gasping as I made her forget everything but me. The world disappeared. The apartment.
Ivy.
Consequences. None of it mattered while her body moved beneath mine, while she whispered my name like it meant something more than she wanted to admit. Afterward, I lay beside her, tangled in sheets and silence, heart still pounding. "We can't keep doing this," I said. "Then tell me to stop," she murmured, brushing my hair back from my face. I couldn't. She saw the answer in my eyes. "You're mine now," she whispered, kissing my shoulder. "You can lie to Ivy. You can lie to yourself. But your body already told me the truth." I closed my eyes. Let her hold me. Let myself fall deeper into something I knew I wouldn't be able to escape from. Celine stayed until Ivy got home. We pretended nothing happened. Again. But later that night, when I went to the kitchen for water, I found a note under my mug.
Her handwriting.
Slanted, sharp. "Next time, you're the one sneaking into my room. Don't keep me waiting." I clutched the note to my chest, heart racing, throat dry. Because there was no going back now. Not after this. I stared at the note for hours. I kept it tucked under my pillow during the day, like hiding it would keep the fire from spreading, but it didn't. It lived in my chest, under my skin, pulsing with every glance across the room, every brush of her hand disguised as accidental, every low laugh she let out just to watch me flush. The tension was unbearable now. Ivy was back in full chaotic force, bouncing around the apartment like nothing was wrong while the world beneath my skin cracked open from how badly I wanted her sister. Wanted her hands again. Her mouth. Her voice whispering all those filthy promises I never believed I'd crave. And Celine? She acted like she had all the time in the world to unravel me. She never rushed, never pushed. She just watched. Waited. Smirked when I glanced at her lips. Smiled when I stammered through conversations. She didn't need to say it out loud. I was already hers. The worst part? I liked it. I liked that she knew exactly what she was doing to me. That she could sit across the room reading a book while I squirmed silently, replaying the way her fingers had gripped my thighs. That she could press close behind me while I washed dishes, her mouth just near my ear, her breath hot, and say nothing at all, but leave me trembling for hours. 3 nights after the note, I cracked. I waited until Ivy was asleep, her soft breathing steady in the next room, and crept out into the hallway with my heart pounding like I was about to commit a crime. Maybe I was. Her door was barely open. A sliver of golden light from her bedside lamp spilled into the hallway like it was waiting for me. My fingers trembled as I pushed the door open. She was sitting up in bed, reading glasses perched on her nose, hair tied up in a lazy knot, wearing nothing but an oversized t-shirt that left her legs bare and glowing in the soft light. She looked up, smiled. I was beginning to think you weren't coming. I almost didn't, I whispered. Why not? Because I'm scared of what this means. She closed the book, setting it on the nightstand. Come here. I did.
Slowly. Carefully.
Like approaching a flame I knew would burn me. I stood at the edge of her bed, trembling slightly, my oversized shirt brushing my thighs. She looked me up and down, eyes darkening, mouth parting just a little. Take it off, she whispered. I hesitated, breath shallow. Celine, you already came to my room, she said softly. Don't pretend you're still undecided. My fingers moved before my brain did. The shirt hit the floor. I stood in front of her, completely bare, heart thundering in my chest. Her gaze slid over me like a touch, like a claim. She pulled back the covers and patted the bed. Get in. I crawled in beside her, the heat between us immediate, electric. She turned to me slowly, fingertips trailing up my arm, along my collarbone, brushing the side of my breast until I shivered. You know I think about you all the time, right? She murmured. What we did. What I want to do again. Tell me, I whispered. Her hand slid to my hip. I want to ruin you, I gasped. Her mouth was on mine before I could respond, and everything else disappeared. The sheets, the air, my thoughts, all gone. All that existed was her, and the way she kissed me like I belonged to her. Her hands explored me again, but this time slower, more intimate. She knew exactly where to touch, how to press, when to pause just long enough to drive me insane. I was already melting beneath her when she whispered, I want to take my time tonight. No rushing. No hiding. I want to learn every sound you make. And she did. I tried to stay quiet. I really did. But Celine didn't make that easy. Her fingers moved like they had a map of my body memorized. Her mouth left trails of heat down my skin. And when she whispered things low, filthy, sweet, right into my ear, I couldn't bite back the gasps. The moans. The way I cried out her name like a prayer. That's it, she purred. Don't hold back, baby. No one's going to interrupt us now. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. I couldn't tell anymore. Time bent around the way she made me feel. I didn't know where my body ended and hers began. All I knew was the rhythm of her hands, the weight of her mouth, the rough press of her thigh between mine. I came undone again, and she never stopped. Never let me go. Not until I was breathless and wrecked and clinging to her like I'd fall apart without her. We lay in the afterglow, tangled, skin damp, chests rising and falling in sync. She stroked my hair slowly, her lips pressed to my temple. You don't get to pretend after this, she whispered. You don't get to look me in the eye tomorrow and act like this didn't happen. I swallowed, blinking up at the ceiling. I wasn't planning to. She turned my face to hers. Good. I kissed her softly.
Gently.
Not out of lust, but something quieter. Something that scared me more. Celine, do you ever feel like this is more than just sex? I nodded. Yeah. She didn't answer right away. Her fingers traced circles on my bare back, thoughtful. Yes, she finally said. I do. That's why it's so dangerous. I buried my face in her neck, heart aching. Because I knew it too. Whatever this was, it wasn't just lust anymore. It was bigger.
Deeper.
Scarier. And soon, we wouldn't be able to hide it. The morning after should have felt different. After everything we did, after the way she held me, whispered to me, kissed me like I was the only thing that ever made sense, I expected to wake up in her arms. But her side of the bed was cold. Empty. The only sign she'd been there at all was the faint scent of her perfume on my sheets and the dull ache in my chest where her body had pressed into mine all night. I lay there for a long time, eyes wide open, trying to make sense of the silence. Was it guilt? Regret? Or was this just how she worked, slipping in, making me fall harder every time, and then vanishing before the sun could catch us? When I finally got up, the apartment was quiet. Ivy had left for class, and Celine's door was cracked open, but her bag was gone. Her coat. Her book. No note this time. Just space. Emptiness. And 1,000 questions tearing holes through my chest.
I didn't hear from her that day.
Or the next. No texts. No sneaky, midnight knocks. No sharp smirks across the table, like she was remembering how I moaned her name into her mouth. Just silence. And I hated how it made me feel. I hated how I kept checking my phone every 5 minutes like a lovesick idiot. I hated how I couldn't stop playing everything back in my head. Every kiss, every whisper, every time she called me baby like it meant something. I hated that I missed her. Worse, I hated that I didn't know if she missed me too. Ivy noticed.
Of course she did.
You okay? She asked on Wednesday afternoon. You've been weird. Just tired. I lied. School's been a lot. And she eyed me for a second, then shrugged. You should come out with me Friday. Girls' night. You need a distraction. I nodded, but my stomach twisted. The only distraction I wanted was currently ghosting me. Friday came, and I agreed to go, mostly to stop thinking. Ivy dragged me to a bar near campus. Loud music and cheap drinks and way too many people pretending they weren't just there to hook up. I tried to have fun. I really did. I laughed at Ivy's jokes, danced a little, even let some girl buy me a drink. But my eyes kept drifting to the door. Like I expected Celine to walk in and pull me out by the wrist, press me against a wall, and make me forget why I ever doubted her. That didn't happen. Instead, it got worse. Because halfway through the night, Ivy tapped me on the shoulder, grinning like she was about to say something casual and harmless. Oh, by the way, guess who I saw earlier? I turned, trying to look interested.
Who?
Celine. She was at that cafe on 12th. With someone.
Tall. Hot.
And definitely not a classmate. My blood froze.
What?
Yeah. Ivy went on, oblivious. Didn't see much. But they were sitting close. Talking all quiet and intense. Honestly, I was gonna go say hi, but didn't want to interrupt whatever that was. I forced a smile.
Right. Cool.
But my heart was imploding. I left the bar early. Made up some excuse about a headache. Ivy didn't push. I walked home alone, the cold biting into my skin, my brain spinning with ugly thoughts I didn't want to admit. She didn't owe me anything. We never said we were exclusive. Hell, we never even called this a relationship. But it felt like something more. Didn't it? Or was I just another game to her? Another conquest? Another soft body to warm her bed until she got bored? I hated that I didn't know. I hated that I cared. The apartment was dark when I got in. I went straight to my room, tossed my phone on the bed, and tried to convince myself not to cry. That's when the knock came.
Soft.
Familiar. My whole body stiffened. I crossed the room in 3 shaky steps and opened the door. Celine stood there, coat open, hair windswept, eyes darker than I'd ever seen them. You've been avoiding me, I said before I could stop myself. Her jaw clenched. I've been busy. With someone on 12th? Her eyes narrowed. So, Ivy told you. Shouldn't she have? It wasn't a date. Didn't look like nothing, according to her. Since when do you believe everything Ivy says? Since you disappeared without a word after everything My voice cracked. I turned away, but she grabbed my wrist, gently but firmly.
Don't do that, she said.
Don't shut down on me now. Then talk to me, Celine. I'm not asking for a love letter. Don't make me feel like I was the only one who felt something real that night. Her eyes softened. She stepped in, closing the door behind her, and let her forehead rest against mine. You weren't. My chest tightened. Then why did you leave? Because it scared me, she whispered. Because you scare me. I blinked. Why? Because I wasn't supposed to fall for you. The silence between us pulsed with meaning. Her hand slid up to cup my face, thumbs brushing tears I didn't know had fallen.
But I did, she said.
And I don't know how to unfeel that. I exhaled shakily. Then stop running. Only if you stop doubting. I'll try, I said. But it's hard when you vanish after touching me like you mean it. She kissed me then, not like the other times. Not with hunger or control or games.
But gently. Slowly.
Like it hurt. Like it meant something. I'll be better, she whispered. Just don't give up on me. I pulled her in, wrapping my arms around her waist. Don't give me a reason to. That night, she didn't sneak in. She didn't leave. She crawled into my bed with me, fully clothed, and just held me. No sex. No games. Just her fingers in my hair and her lips pressed to my temple as I fell asleep in her arms for the first time. And for the first time, I believed maybe this wasn't just lust anymore. Maybe it never was. Waking up in her arms felt like waking up inside a dream I didn't want to end. Her breath was warm on the back of my neck, one of her legs tangled with mine, her hand resting just under the hem of my shirt like it belonged there. Like she belonged there. For a while, I didn't move. I just breathed her in. Slow, careful, afraid that if I shifted too much, the moment would dissolve and she'd pull away. But she didn't. She held me tighter. Her fingers curled gently against my stomach, and she pressed the softest kiss to my shoulder like she didn't even realize she was doing it. You're awake, she murmured. I smiled. So are you. Didn't sleep much. Why not? Because you were next to me, she said, her voice lower now. And I couldn't stop thinking about how much I want to kiss you again. My heart stuttered. So, why don't you? Her hand slid up, fingertips grazing my ribs. Because if I do, I won't stop. And Ivy's just down the hall. The mention of her name hit like ice down my spine. Reality slipping back in, cold and sharp. We can't keep doing this forever, I whispered. Celine shifted, her body molding against mine, mouth brushing the shell of my ear. Then don't call it forever. Just call it right now. I turned to face her. She looked tired.
Raw.
Her walls down. I like you, I said. Not just this. Not just sex or sneaking around. I like you. Her lips parted. She didn't smile. She just stared at me like the words knocked something loose inside her. I know, she finally said. I feel it every time you look at me, like I'm the only one you see. You are. She closed the distance between us, kissing me like she believed it. And for a second, I let myself believe it too. We stayed like that until the alarm on my phone buzzed violently between us, snapping everything back into motion. I groaned. Class.
She sighed.
Right. I sat up reluctantly, heart aching already from the distance I knew was coming. You should go before Ivy wakes up.
Yeah.
She didn't move right away. She watched me get dressed, her eyes lingering on my skin, her expression unreadable. Before she slipped out the door, she turned and said, I'll see you tonight? You better, I whispered. She smirked. Bossy. And then she was gone. The day dragged. Every text from Ivy felt like a potential landmine. Every glance in class was distracted. Every thought, no matter how I tried to control it, circled back to Celine. That kiss. That look in her eyes. That quiet promise I wanted so desperately to believe in. Ivy and I had lunch on campus, and for the first time, I felt like a liar sitting across from her. She was talking about some group project disaster, waving a French fry in the air like a sword, laughing. And all I could think was, I'm sleeping with your sister. I'm falling for your sister. Guilt sat heavy in my stomach, but the ache for Celine was louder. When we got home that afternoon, Celine wasn't there. Ivy flopped onto the couch. Movie night, she asked. Sure, I said, trying not to glance toward Celine's empty room. The hours crawled by. No text. No knock. Nothing. And that quiet, aching panic began to build in my chest again. Had she changed her mind? Was she pulling away? I didn't sleep. Every creak in the apartment made my heart jump. But morning came, and she never showed. I tried not to spiral, tried not to fall back into that raw place where every silence felt like abandonment. On Sunday, Ivy left for brunch with a friend. I was curled up on the couch in her absence, half reading, half waiting. The door opened. Celine stepped inside, hair windblown, sunglasses in her hand, keys dangling from her fingers. My heart jolted. Where have you been? I asked, unable to keep the edge from my voice. She closed the door slowly, set her things down, and looked at me. I needed space. I stood, anger flaring hot in my chest. So you disappear? No call? No message. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. And silence is better? Maybe, she snapped, then softened.
No, I'm sorry.
This is hard for me too, okay? I swallowed, suddenly unsure where to put all this feeling. I need to know I'm not the only one risking something. She crossed the room in 3 long steps and cupped my face in her hands. You're not. Then stop pushing me away. Then stop doubting that I want you. I don't doubt it, I breathed. When you go quiet, it makes me feel like I imagined all of this. She pulled me into her arms. You didn't. And when she kissed me, everything else fell away. But later that night, when Ivy came home unexpectedly early and nearly caught us kissing in the hallway, the fear came back sharper than ever. We separated just in time. I stumbled into the kitchen, trying to look casual. Celine vanished down the hall. Ivy blinked at me. You okay? She asked. You look flushed. Just hot in here, I said quickly. She stared at me a moment too long, then shrugged. But I could feel it. A shift. A flicker of suspicion in the air. And I knew then, we were running out of time.
It was bound to happen.
We'd been careful, yes, but only just. The glances, the touches, the late nights. The mornings when I came out of my room with swollen lips and messy hair, while Celine walked into the kitchen 5 minutes later, wearing the same shirt she had on the night before. Ivy wasn't stupid. And eventually, even the most loyal of friends start to notice when something doesn't make sense. It started small. A look here. A pause in conversation. The way her eyes flicked between us a little too sharply whenever Celine lingered near me. I tried to ignore it. Pretend nothing was shifting. But the weight of it pressed harder every day. One night, after Ivy went to sleep, Celine pulled me into her room, kissed me breathless against the door, and whispered how much she missed my skin. I should have stopped her. Should have said not tonight. Not when the walls felt thinner than ever. Not when every moan had to be muffled with a desperate hand or a bite to the shoulder. But I didn't. I couldn't. She laid me down on her bed like I was something precious, like she'd waited all day just to touch me again. And I let her. I let her make me hers over and over. Let her kiss every inch of me until I forgot what fear even felt like. But the next morning, Ivy was already in the kitchen when I came out of her room. Celine was behind me. Too close. Too familiar. I stepped away quickly, but it was too late. Ivy's eyes flicked to the way our hands brushed. Her jaw tightened. She didn't say anything, just turned and poured her coffee with more force than necessary. Sleep okay? She asked, without looking up. Yeah, I said. My voice cracked. Celine, of course, was composed as always. I slept fine. But Ivy didn't respond. She just sipped her coffee and stared out the window. And that silence said more than words ever could. That day, the air between us was different. Ivy barely spoke to me. She was polite, but clipped, distracted.
Like she was holding something in.
I tried to tell myself it was nothing, just paranoia. But then I walked into our room and saw her sitting on her bed, staring at the floor, her brows furrowed deep. "Hey," I said softly. She looked up slowly. "You've been weird lately." My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "I mean," she paused, searching my face. "You disappear in the middle of the night. You come back looking like someone's been all over you. And every time I walk into a room, you and Celine act like you've just committed a murder." I laughed nervously. "That's dramatic." "Is it?" she asked, voice sharp now. "Because I'm not blind. I see how she looks at you, how you look at her." I said nothing. I couldn't. She stood slowly, crossing her arms. "Are you sleeping with my sister?" The room spun. My mouth opened, closed. I tried to form a sentence, any sentence, but the words just dissolved. "Ivy, just tell me the truth." I didn't mean for it to happen. So, it did happen. Her voice cracked. My chest tightened painfully. It wasn't a game. I didn't go after her. We didn't plan this. It just happened. And then it kept happening. And I didn't know how to stop because I broke off. She stared at me, eyes wide with something I couldn't name. Anger, betrayal, confusion. "How long?" she whispered. "A few weeks." Jesus. She stepped back like I'd struck her. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I was scared. Because I knew this would hurt you. And because I didn't want to lose you. And yet you kept doing it anyway." Her voice was ice. I reached for her, but she stepped away. "Ivy, please, don't. Just don't." She grabbed her jacket, shoved her phone into her pocket, and walked out of the apartment without another word. I stood there shaking. My breath came in shallow bursts, my stomach a knot of guilt and grief, and something close to panic. I sat on my bed, buried my face in my hands,
And cried.
Hours passed. I didn't move. I didn't call Celine. I didn't eat. I just waited. Waited for something, anything, to make this feel less like the beginning of the end. When Celine finally came home, I didn't even look up. She dropped her keys on the counter, walked into our room, and knelt in front of me. "What happened?" she asked softly. I lifted my eyes to hers. "She knows." Celine's face went pale. "What did she say?" "She asked if we were sleeping together." "What did you tell her?" "The truth." She exhaled. "Fuck." "She left," I whispered. "I don't know if she's coming back." Celine sat beside me, pulled me into her arms. "I'm sorry. So am I." "We can fix this," she murmured. "It's going to take time, but she loves you. She'll understand eventually. And if she doesn't, then I'll fight for you," she said. "Even if it means losing her." I pulled back, looked her in the eyes. "Would you really?" "I already am." She kissed me then, soft, slow, like a promise. And I kissed her back, even though my heart was breaking. Because I knew one thing for sure now. We weren't just a secret anymore. We were a choice. And it was time to choose. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Not with the apartment so quiet, so heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. Ivy still hadn't come back. Her bed sat untouched, the sheets perfectly made, her side of the room too neat, too still. Celine stayed with me, but even her presence couldn't calm the storm inside me. She held me like she was afraid I'd disappear, like she knew this wasn't just about us anymore. It never was. Around 3 a.m., I finally pulled away from her arms and sat up in bed. My chest ached. My hands shook. "I can't breathe," I whispered. Celine sat up too, her expression softening. "It's going to be okay." "You don't know that." "I know you didn't do anything wrong by falling for someone," she said. "Even if that someone is me." "But it hurt her," I said, voice cracking. "That makes it wrong." Celine reached for my hand, threaded her fingers through mine.
No.
"It makes it complicated. Messy.
Human.
But not wrong." I looked at her, my heart pounding. Why do you keep staying? Her eyes didn't waver. Because I'm in love with you. The silence between us was immediate, deep, terrifying. I blinked, stunned. What? I didn't mean to say it like that, she murmured. But I'm not taking it back. I couldn't speak. My throat tightened, my heart climbing into my mouth. You, Celine, I've never felt like this before, she continued. You make me soft and wild at the same time. You make me scared in a way that feels alive. I want to protect you, but I also want to be undone by you. I've never wanted both before. I was crying and smiling at the same time. I love you too, I whispered. She exhaled shakily, leaned in, and kissed me. Not like she was trying to seduce me. Not like she wanted to claim me. Just like she meant it. The next morning, Ivy still wasn't back. The silence stretched longer, heavier. Every footstep in the hallway made my heart leap. Every minute without her felt like a countdown to something I couldn't control. When the door finally opened just after noon, I froze. Celine stood beside me. Ivy stepped inside, dropped her keys on the table, and looked at us. She didn't say anything. Her expression was unreadable. Ivy, I began, standing too fast.
Please, can we talk?
About what? She asked coldly. The fact that you've been screwing my sister behind my back? It's not like that, Celine said quickly. Then how is it? Ivy snapped. Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like betrayal. I love her, I said, the words tumbling out of me. I didn't mean to. I didn't plan to. But it happened. And I'm not sorry for loving her. I'm just sorry I hurt you. Ivy stared at me, something flickering in her eyes.
Pain. Rage.
Maybe even fear. Do you even know how long I've had your back? She whispered. Through breakups, panic attacks, everything. And this is how you repay me. It wasn't about betraying you, Celine said softly. It was about finding something we didn't expect. Don't try to romanticize it, Ivy snapped. You're older. You knew exactly what this would do to me. Then yell at me, Celine said. Hate me, but don't punish her. She didn't chase me. I came to her. Ivy turned away, running her hands through her hair. I don't even know who you two are anymore. We're still us, I said. Just different now. You should have told me, she muttered, before it went this far. I was scared, I admitted. I didn't want to lose you. And now you might have, she said. That silence between us cracked open into something unbearable. I stepped forward, tears in my eyes. Please don't shut me out. Not completely. You're still the most important person in my life. Am I? Her voice was so small.
Yes.
Always. Celine walked over slowly. I don't expect you to forgive me today. Or tomorrow. But I won't lie anymore. I love her. And I'm not going to pretend I don't just to make this easier. Ivy didn't respond. She stared at the floor, chest rising and falling like she was holding back an entire storm. Then finally she looked up. I need space. From both of you. My stomach dropped. Ivy, I'm not saying forever, she said, voice breaking. I'm saying right now. I can't breathe when you're both in the room. I nodded slowly, trying not to fall apart. Okay. She grabbed a bag from her room and walked toward the door. Before she left, she paused and looked back at me. I'm glad you found something real. I just wish it hadn't come at my expense. Then she left. The door clicked shut, and it felt like the whole apartment collapsed with it. I sank onto the couch, head in my hands. Celine came to sit beside me, wrapping her arms around my shoulders. She'll come back, she said. She just needs time. I wanted to believe her.
Needed to.
But right now, all I could feel was the ache of loss and the weight of love sitting side by side inside me. We have each other, she whispered. We'll get through this. I turned into her arms, let her hold me like she did that night we first crossed the line. And even though everything around us felt uncertain, one thing burned clear in my chest. I would choose her again. Even if it cost me everything. The days after Ivy left were quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful. The apartment felt too big, too hollow, like every sound echoed where laughter used to live. I tried to stay busy, throwing myself into school, cleaning obsessively, folding and refolding clothes that didn't need folding. Celine stayed too, but she gave me space. She didn't try to fill every silence or fix every ache. She just stayed close, like her presence was a lighthouse and I was drifting in a storm. And sometimes that was enough. Other times, I'd wake up crying and she'd hold me until I fell asleep again, her hands stroking my back, her lips brushing my forehead, whispering that she was still here.
Still mine.
We didn't talk about Ivy much. We both knew the wound was too fresh. All we could do was wait.
Hope.
Try to believe that love wasn't a crime we'd pay for forever. 2 weeks passed. Then 3. And every time I opened the door, a small part of me hoped I'd see Ivy standing there, rolling her eyes, pretending it wasn't a big deal, saying something like, "You two are disgusting, but I'm over it." But she didn't come. Not until a rainy Thursday afternoon, when the knock at the door made my heart stop cold. I opened it slowly, not daring to believe. And there she was, hair damp from the rain, hoodie pulled over her head, eyes wide and unsure. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." I breathed, my voice catching. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside, heart racing as she entered the apartment like it wasn't the same space we'd all left broken weeks ago. She stood in the center of the living room, looking around like she didn't recognize it anymore. Then she looked at me. Really looked at me. "You look like shit," she said. I laughed, choked on it, wiped at my eyes. "Thanks. Have you been okay?" she asked, quieter now. "No," I said honestly, "but I'm better now that you're here." She nodded, biting her lip, emotions warring on her face. "I was angry," she admitted. "I still kind of am. But I've also had time to think.
And feel.
And process." "Okay," I whispered, not daring to hope yet. "I hated that you kept it from me," she continued. "But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't just mad about the secret. I was mad because I was scared of losing both of you." I felt the tears rising again, but I held them back. "You didn't lose us." It felt like I did. She sat on the couch, looked down at her hands. "But then I kept remembering all the times you lit up when she was around. And I realized maybe this wasn't some reckless thing. Maybe it was real." I nodded. "It is. It's the realest thing I've ever felt." "I know," she said, her voice cracking. I could see it, even when I didn't want to. I knelt in front of her, reached for her hand. "I never wanted to hurt you. I know that too." She squeezed my fingers. "And as much as it still stings, I love you. You're my best friend. My sister might have fallen in love with you, but I loved you first. And I don't want to throw that away." I broke. Quiet tears slipped down my cheeks as I leaned into her, and she pulled me into a hug. A real one. A warm, trembling, messy hug that felt like forgiveness. "So," she murmured into my shoulder, "are you gonna go get her? Or should I yell across the apartment like an idiot?" I laughed, pulled back, and looked toward Celine's closed door. She's probably been eavesdropping this whole time. Wouldn't be surprised. I stood, wiped my eyes again, and walked to Celine's room. I didn't even knock. I just opened the door, and there she was, standing in the middle of the room like she hadn't dared breathe the whole time. Her eyes met mine. "Did I hear what I think I heard?" "Come find out," I said, holding out my hand. She crossed the room in 2 steps, took my hand, and followed me into the living room. Ivy stood, looked at her, and after a long, heavy pause, she opened her arms. "This doesn't mean I'm okay with hearing you two at night." Celine's eyes widened. "Fair. But it does mean I'm trying," Ivy said. "Because I love you too. And you too, you're serious, huh?" I looked up at Celine, her fingers laced with mine, her eyes full of something warm and terrifying and beautiful. "Yeah," I said. "We are." Ivy nodded. "Then okay. Just be good to each other. And maybe don't make out on the couch while I'm home." "Deal," Celine said, grinning. And for the first time in weeks, the 3 of us laughed. That night, After Ivy went to sleep, Celine pulled me into bed and wrapped herself around me like a second skin. "You okay?" she whispered. I nodded, burying my face in her neck.
Yeah.
"We're okay." She kissed my temple. "We don't have to hide anymore. No more sneaking. No more pretending. Just us," I whispered. "Just love." She pulled me closer, held me like she never planned to let go. And I let her, because this was it. This was real. This was love born in shadows and grown in silence. And finally, it could breathe in the light. We fell asleep tangled together, the apartment full again, whole again, hearts healed and hands held tight. And for the first time, there was no fear. Just her.
Just me.
Just everything we almost lost. Finally ours to keep. Thank you so much for your support, whether it's by liking, commenting, sharing, or sending your super thanks. You make all the difference here on the channel. See you in the next video.